Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Need to Nerd podcast. I'm your host, Heezy. I'm joined by my co-host, a man who changed faces. Paddy B, who are you?
Hi, my name is Paddy B. I look like an entirely different person without a beard on my face.
Yeah,
Um,
that's saying a little bit. You're like my beard disappeared. I was like, well, you should go find it. That's a weird thing for something like that to do. And you definitely don't look like the same person.
yeah, no, yeah, that is. Uh-huh.
Well,
Um,
this is episode 118. We're excited to be here today. We will be continuing our series on. We're actually catching up completely now on the Cobra Kai series, a series that we started here when Paddy B joined the show, and we'll be reviewing season 5 today. But before we do that, don't forget to check out our Discord. If you want to talk about Cobra Kai and you want to never die, head on over to the Discord in the show notes. Greatly appreciated every time we get somebody new. I know that people, fantasy season's over. It's time for us to find other things to be talking about in there. So come on, let's talk about some TV. It's summertime. Let's talk about movies, video games, all kinds of stuff. So head on over to the Discord in the show notes, and then you can join the contest if you subscribe here on the YouTube channel. Once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we will be giving away whatever the newest Nintendo console is, with, of course, a wonderful copy of Smash Bros. With our other podcast, the wonderful Smash 3 podcast, which we were going to record this week, and I just, took a nap. Just, straight up was like, I'm going to take a nap. And then slept through when I was supposed to record, which is wild for me. I'm not like a not like a guy that misses the deadlines very often, Patty. But we did miss a week of especially, so I hope that comes back soon. No nerd fact of the week this week. We're gonna dive right in this time to the wonderful thing that is Cobra Kai season 5. If you haven't listened to our other episodes, you haven't watched the show yet, go catch up. Go do that. We'll give you a couple more minutes to listen to this, in case you want us to sell you on it. But Cobra Kai Season 5 is the 5th installment of a spin-off series of the wonderful Karate Kid franchise. We talked about it a lot, thinking about back to Season 1, where the story was about, Johnny Lawrence and his life, and, how maybe Johnny isn't the bad guy made out to be in the film. And it has evolved into this wonderful thing that is about betrayal, that is about manipulation, and that is about understanding forgiveness and growth. And it is a great TV show, and season 5 kind of delivers on all of that, Patty.
yeah, it does. I think it's one of the, if not the best season of the show. For what it's worth, I also thought it was going to be the last season, but I think we get one more.
Yeah, we'll talk about that during the show. Cobra Kai season 5 released Netflix September 9th, 2022. It is the 3rd season from Netflix. This show started on YouTube Red, for those who don't remember. It is what they call the penultimate season. At least how it looks. I actually haven't confirmed. I would assume. Should we look? I'm gonna look.
Sure.
Let's see here. Cobra Kai season 6. Why did my keyboard turn off? It is. The actress spilled the beans as of 2 days ago. We'll have 15 episodes.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long. Because I think all these seasons have been 10.
Yep.
So that's 1.5.
Yep. So
That's great.
season 6, 15 episodes. No, I don't think we have a release date yet. I assume it'll be this year, though. Just kind of based on timing. I mean, the show's probably... What we have to remember, though, is we had a writer strike and an actor strike. And I don't know how that affected shows like this, but I assume they just paused on a show like this. But we'll kind of see. But yeah, season 5, back to that. It's interesting. It is the one following the bad guy switch, as I would call it, spoilers for season 4, where the big bads have switched. There's a new quote unquote new big bad, and we are here living in a world where Silver is in charge of Cobra Kai, and following the win by Tori Nichols in the women's All Valley, and the aftermath of how that happened, why it happened, when it happened, and who be doing what. With that being said, we'll go into our first memories, spoiler free. And Paddy B, I gotta ask you, what was your first memories of watching season 5 of Cobra Kai?
I think it kind of snuck up on me because we watched a lot of the other seasons in a row. So I think seasons 4 and 5, it just like appeared on Netflix and was a sudden binge. The first time around.
Did you like watch it with season 4?
Um, I think I had to go back. Like I think I started watching and then I was like trying to remember where things were. So I think I watched like the last 2 or 3 from season 4 to lean in.
So this is one of those ones that I've actually only watched one time now. Usually when we do these, I've watched it and then I watched it again for the episode. But I actually just watched this like a few weeks ago and binged it. And it was, my first impressions of this were that it is tonally different than some of the other seasons, but not in a bad way. I think that when you get to a cast this big, you can't focus on individual things as much. You have to pick characters and things like that. And I think that this season does a really good job of it, but that was my first impression is like, oh, this is like a little bit different. I mean, you start off in like a new place, right? So you start off in Mexico, which is already different. You start off with both the kids cast and the main cast being quite a bit larger. Like, you add, I guess maybe, it kind of depends. You take away one of the villains that you had just had, and you add another good guy. But then you also, like, add, I guess that's not even true, right? Because he gets his apprentice too. I don't know. The cast just was a lot bigger. And that was kind of my first impression. It's like, oh, like, there are parts of individual stories that I feel like maybe we don't get to see as much as we would, but you get to see the important stuff, and I think that's all that matters.
Yeah, you get to see the important stuff, and it is tonally. I think there is a real tonal shift in this season. Like the it was very tournament focused for a lot of the other seasons, right? It's like preparing for the big tournament. And this one, because of the way that things ended in season 5 or season 4 rather, with like those dojos closing, with Cobra Kai's victory, like it's just totally very different and a bit more serious than seasons past.
That's going to do it for first impressions. We are going full on spoilers from here on out. So pause the show, head on over to the episodes if you haven't watched it yet, and let's dive in to kind of like our first impressions, our overall impressions. Like, no holding back. Like, what'd you think, Paddy B?
Man, I absolutely love this season. And get into it a bit with my favorite character. But I think Tori has so much growth this season too that like it her finding out that kind of doubting herself with Silver trying to rig things as he does. It changes for her, and we talk about some like changing of sides, and there's a lot of that this season as well, which is great.
Yeah, I thought my overall impression of this season is it feels bigger. Like they usually, like, when things feel bigger, and it's a bad thing, right? Like, you can't hold all the strings together, or there are certain pieces that like get left by the wayside or whatever. And I just didn't feel that way in the show. I really did feel like it was bigger and like a not. I don't know that I felt like it was like a better way, but it was a good way. Like I definitely there was like there were a couple things that we'll get into later, but like it felt like the storylines are bigger, right? Like we're in Mexico. There's like a kid basically missing. We've got Tori dealing with. I would say like a pretty big betrayal for like a kid to deal with. Like, especially for somebody who deals with as much as she deals with and the trust issues that she already has. I think it's a lot for like your sensei to let you down like that and to destroy this thing that you've been working so hard for yourself. Samantha obviously dealing with the other side of that, right? Like I don't feel like I lost. I feel like I deserved that win. Now I feel like I let everybody down. There's a lot. There's a lot to kind of unpack, and I feel like that's that bigger thing. Whereas in seasons past of Cobra Kai, I had the complaint of like thing gets wrapped up, new bad thing happens at the end. Thing gets wrapped up, new bad thing happens at the end. That's not how this season goes.
Nope.
So that's always kind of nice.
Yeah, I think as the characters are getting older, they're getting these kind of heavier like headspace in a way where like they have just so much more that they're dealing with, and it is impacting everything.
Who's your favorite character this season? I mean, you already said it, but
I said it. Yeah, it's Tori. If I had to pick a non-Tori character, it'd probably be
Sam?
Danny.
Oh, Danny.
No, yeah. Just like the spiral that he goes down this season, as far as the way that Silver messes with him, and like he's like losing his marriage, and like it kind of is like the downfall of LaRusso. But he overcomes it, and that whole seeing the spiral and then the rise back up is pretty great. But yeah, just I think because we focus on the kids a lot, like they've now become this like the stars of the show. Like you kind of mentioned how when season 1 started, it was about Johnny and like how he's not the bad guy. It was kind of like about the adults, and the kids were tertiary characters. I think that's kind of flipped now. And yeah, seeing new villains pop up, and yeah, Tori coming to grips with what happened, and is still her like true authentic self, but gets to like stand up for what she knows is right is really good to see.
I love that. I think that Tori. She has a scene with, oh my gosh, with. Why am I forgetting the guy's name?
Who are you thinking of?
Sensei Kreese. In the jail, where she like, I think she has this moment of realization that nobody's really on her side. That it really, like, she really is in this area of this no man's land of like, I trusted the wrong people, and now I have to make a hard choice. And I think that that scene's really good, and it kind of goes to show like what it's like to put your faith in the wrong place, and how it really sucks, because the following moments, right, are her and like Sam being mad at her when she tells Sam the truth, and it's like, so there was no
There's no winning.
Yeah, like there's nothing I can do. And I
Yeah.
don't know, I think that's powerful. So
What about you?
yeah, mine's probably a different answer than I would have expected, and I also think it's kind of totally different than my other answers in the show. But Robbie Keane is my favorite character in this season, and it is because I think it's the first character, maybe other than Johnny, that we've seen them complete their arc, so to speak, of like of their character growth. And it's really cool to see him be the full Robbie Keane that he's probably going to be for the rest of the series. The just kind of stand-up kid that has gone through a lot and grown. And I think that, you know, some of the scenes with Miguel, the scenes with Johnny, like I mean, they have growth in this season, but it really, like, by the end of the season, I really do feel like, I mean, even like the midpoint of the season, I feel like Robbie has become Robbie, and I think that that's cool. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think that process kind of happened and like finished when he and Miguel when Johnny had Miguel and Robbie fight. Like, just get your difference, like beat it out, like. And they go through that. They get put like in the reverse scenario with the ledge. Like, that was really cool. It's probably part of some of my favorite moments as well. But yeah, I think that process kind of became complete when they just like resolved a bit of their differences and could move forward.
Do you have a favorite storyline this season?
For kind of like in the position that I'm in right now, Shelby and I are trying for kids, right? And that whole with Johnny and uh and Miguel's mom, right, getting pregnant, and like him completely doing a 180 as far as, you know, his lifestyle, how he like making those real like quality of life improvements. Like, I kind of related with that a bit. And
Dude, was it a fever dream, or did Carmen have like a really weird dream sequence?
it was a pretty cool dream sequence.
Okay. Okay, I couldn't remember. All right. I like that one. I think that it's another one of those things where you see you see growth again, but like it's another one of those where it's almost like a completed character. Like Johnny has completed this arc. I don't know that like Johnny's done growing, you know, we're never done growing as people. But I think that the way he handles it, the way they go through it, like really goes to show a different Johnny than like Johnny season one would have been like, oh, I can't believe this bad thing happened to me. You know, Johnny here's like, I'm gonna do this right. And I think that that goes to show what the show did.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, I think that my favorite storyline is probably, if it's not Tori's, which I think, you know, the Tori storyline is kind of the season, so it's kind of hard not to say that one. I think that the other answer is Samantha's. I mean, I guess that's the same answer, but I really like one. I really like how Mary plays Samantha. I think I've said that every season, that she has. I think she's like 24 or something. How old is she?
96.
No, she's definitely not that old. That's too old. She's 27. She's not 96, Paddy B. Come on.
No, born in 1996.
Oh, come on. My joke was funny. Don't do this to me.
Come on.
27 years old. She does a really good job at playing a teenager, which there's a few people that I say that about, like, I actually think it's hard to play a teenager. I think so often, like, you're too disgruntled, or you're like, you don't have always have like depth that way. And I think Mary does a really good job. It kind of reminds me of um, my favorite actress in the whole world, Haley Steinfeld, where it's just like she can play somebody that's 16, or she can play somebody that's 32, and like you get the full breadth of like what that character's feeling and when they're feeling it and why they're feeling it. I feel like Mary does a really good job of that.
That is quite the gift to be able to have that wide of a range.
Yeah,
where you can be those are like completely different people. And
yeah, and I think I mean obviously like we've only seen her play a 16 to now. I mean, how old is she in that? She's got to be 18 probably at this point in the show.
Yeah, they're probably 17,
18,
like starting like their senior year, probably this like
yeah.
last
And
year.
I don't know. I felt like, I mean, obviously this like she didn't start 27 when she started this show, and you know this show's probably 8 years old now. But I don't know. I'm impressed with the ability to play this character that shows emotions. I thought she did. I remember watching. Is it season 3 where she's? Anyway, I remember another season where I said this about her, but I'm constantly impressed. She's not one dimensional, and her story's not one dimensional either. She does a really good job. The character, not just Mary, but like the character does a really good job of letting us know how she's feeling. And that it's okay that it's complicated. Like, and understanding that it's complicated doesn't take away from anything. I don't know. I think that her figuring out like who she wants to be, separated from her boyfriend and her dad, is something that we don't always do as humans. We don't take the time to figure out ourselves, especially at a young age. It's really hard to do, you know, at 17, 18 years old, be separated from who your parents want to be when you're living in their house, want you to be living in their house, who your boyfriend wants you to be, who your friends want you to be, and decide like who I want to be. And I think that, you know, you see her in the chamber in this season, and she's, you know, she really is trying. She's trying a lot of things to figure it out. And I don't know, I really like it.
Yeah, it's a lot of, like I talked about, everything is a lot heavier mentally. And I mean the isolation chamber, whatever Moon tried to call it, I don't know what they I only know it as an isolation chamber. This is a good example of that.
And it could be better this season for you, Paddy B.
I mean, like, I think we talked about it in our last season as well. Like, it sucks, and we talked about how well, right, Mary is like playing a teenager, but it's starting to, like, we've seen Sholo in Blue Beetle, right? We had that episode, and maybe it was there that we kind of talked about it, reference back, but just how a lot of these kids are now like not just, they're looking more like adults, and there's a bit of uncanny, like it's starting to become not as believable that these guys are like teenagers.
I think the one that's, I mean, this is just the show being successful and running for a long time, right? Like,
right.
I don't think that we had any of these complaints about Game of Thrones when the girls got older, but what's his name? I can't find him on this cast list. Let's see.
What character?
Danny's son.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's not in this season as much.
Yeah, he's in it a little.
Like, it's just kind of sprinkling. It's he's almost as an accessory to.
I mean, he's part of the training montages and things like that. And
yeah.
Anyway, my point is, it's Anthony Lou, so
right.
His character started the show at the beginning of the show in 2018. So he's in episode 1. So he's been in the show for 6 years. And, like, does not look like the same human being. And it's okay. Like, I think we talked about this during the Witcher season. Like, where it's like, sometimes human beings go through puberty and, like, that's okay. Like, that's a thing that happens. And, like, you just kind of move on. But it is funny. Like, his transformation was like, that's the same kid from episode 1? And it very is like the Ciri episode 1 of season 1 of Witcher to Ciri episode 1 of season 2 of Witcher. You're like, did they change actresses? Like, is that a different person? So I feel you on that one.
Yeah, it's like it's not something that's like wrong or like, you know, is something that they can do about. Like,
Well, it's certainly one of the reasons that I think, like, you cast somebody who's 19 years old as a 16-year-old instead of a 16-year-old as a 16-year-old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, as much as it's like, oh man, I wish like they would cast age appropriate people for these roles. It's like, yeah, but then this happens. Like,
Yeah,
so
they were. I mean, they were they were pretty close. Like, kind of. It just like COVID happened. Like, COVID happened. The writer's strike happened. There's been a lot of time, and it's been a long running show.
yeah,
So like all those things that are out of control, right, and good things, right, like that it being a long running show.
I mean, yeah, like if you look at
Happen.
the guy that plays Kyler, he is born in '98, so he's 2 years younger than Mary, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that, like, he would have been 17 during filming of season 1, playing a 16-year-old. So,
Yeah.
Any other could be betters?
That's about it. This season is very good.
Oh man. Okay. Where do I start? So I think that there is a little bit of directionlessness in this season when it comes to the plot of the season, where it's like, where are we headed? Where are we going? What's the point? It's answered in small chunks, right? Like, we're going to find Miguel. We're going to find ourselves. We're going to find the truth. But, like, that it's almost like finding the truth is the point of the season, and that every character does it at different paces, and it means different things. And maybe that's it. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But there was certainly no theme to this season other than that. And that's okay. Like, it's like putting it in retrospect because I've only watched the season once. Saying that this season is about finding the truth might actually be a way to connect the things here. But like I
was on mute. That's why.
the scenes where they go through the Chosen and stuff like that. Like, it's just like it feels lost. It feels like there's no direction to me. That's not to say it's not enjoyable. That's like, it could be better for me. The John Kreese scenes seem like total waste of time filler. Like, that I have no, like, this character, like, has no impact on what's going on, and I don't know why we're watching this pretty often. Like, there are scenes where that's not true. Like, when Danny and Johnny are talking to him, that's pretty good. But, like, other than, I don't know that he pushes any stories forward at any point, other than maybe Tori's. But all he tells Tori is that he can't tell her anything and to trust him. And she's like, I don't know them. Like, what are you saying? Like, So all the John Kreese parts of the season, I'm like, why are we here? Like, this guy's in jail and doesn't have any outside influence at all, other than a 17-year-old girl who he doesn't give any direction to. I don't know. That could be better for me. the there were some things that felt larger than they needed to be, like the furniture store burning down. I'm like, would he really do that?
Just like major
That's
arson. Like,
such a over. I don't know. That one was like a lot. There were a lot of really big moments, like I said, in this season, right? Where I'm just like, wow, that was big. Like the sword fight at the end. Like, I don't know. Some of it was just like suspending my disbelief. Like an all-out school brawl, like we had, or like they brawl in the school and like they try to raid them in and stuff. That's believable. That stuff happens. Uh, Two drunk adults breaking into somebody's house and wanting to get slashed in the back with a sword. Is that how that's gonna play out for Tori Silver or for Terry Silver? I don't know. That's my could be betters. Like the thing is, I want to say about all these that they're just could be betters. I really loved this season, but it did get bigger to the point where you're like, oh, if it gets much bigger than this, like I don't know if we're gonna stay in the same world we were in. I don't want to jump the shark here, folks.
I think some of that, like with this season, they wanted everything to feel bigger, right? And so some of these more outlandish, big kind of things like major arson. I mean, who says that Terry Silver? Everyone like talks about how crazy this person is, like, and so like, I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily put it past him.
Fair enough. Let's see here. Do you want to go over some of your love-its? We'll just popcorn off.
Yeah, sure. So
what's a love it, by the way? We didn't say what it could be better. We're supposed to do that every episode.
Right. So yeah. So could be betters. You've listened to our could be betters, right? So they're not things that we're saying are bad, right? They're not.
Yeah. For what it's
we
worth,
wouldn't review anything that we don't like.
I don't think that it's been going big as bad. I think that like stealing the Hummer like was like why do it this way? Like why steal a Hummer and drive up a mountain? Like what? Like so many things that happen. Like grand like I don't know what level of arson it is to burn down a massive furniture store, but like it had to be like pretty big deal. Anyway, sorry. I just mean to say like I think that some of it doesn't fit, and that's the could be better. Not that it's bad. Like it fed the story, right? Like burning down the furniture store pushed the story forward. So
yeah. So my first love it, I think, is
what's a love it?
Yeah, so I love it is something from this season or the whatever we ended up watching that we loved. It's pretty self-explanatory for the love it. But anything else like on like what a love it is?
No, I think like a love it can be a moment, it can be a sequence of moments, it can be a line. Like it could be anything. And it could be better is something that just could have been better. And
yeah.
Right now, we got love it. Paddy B, what's your first one?
I loved and it's another storyline with Stingray this season. How like he is now he's given all these things from Terry Silver and he's so afraid to tell the truth. And I love Paul Walter Hauser. He's such a great actor, and I love the Stingray character so much.
I'll hop on that one. I think that I don't love the character as much as you do, but I did love him telling the story in the form of a D&D story. so that he could get it out. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, that was great. I also loved Amanda going like full, just like kicking wholesale butt of her like hometown bullies. um at that bar, and all the references with like how old she is with the I forget what game they were playing that she like I guess used to have like the highest score on, whatever. That was a pretty fun sequence. Seeing what's her bucket? It's Robin Lively as Jessica Andrews coming back, one of the guest appearances from previous Cobra Kai iterations or Karate Kid iterations.
I really loved Chosen Size, and like I just the like I know it's a bit, but like it's an in character bit, which I appreciate. So I don't know. I like be like they're not weapons. They're for defense. Like I don't know. It's just funny to me. He's like, no, you don't understand. Like they don't stabby stab. They just blocky block.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how he said it, but he's just funny.
Yeah, because Danny's just like on edge, and Chosen is just like, ironically, he was this serious villain in Karate Kid 3, and now he's or is it 2?
It's 2.
It's 2. Yep.
I've never seen 3.
It was playing in the fitness cinema at my gym the other day.
I've seen the next Karate Kid, but I don't think I ever saw 3.
Well, I think that may be part of our.
We're gonna review it, so like
Yeah. But it's nice that he's like the comic relief for this season.
I often like it's so there. I want to say something about that. Like I think this show does comic relief really well. Which I think is hard when you're not a cartoon, for what it's worth. I think it's really easy to have comic relief in a cartoon because you can make those moments unbelievable. You can make them exaggerated. Whereas when you do that in live action, it's like, oh my gosh, like, take me out of this. I think this show does it really well. Almost not quite as good. I just want to make a comparison. It reminds me of how like Avatar: The Last Airbender does it, where it could be like a throwaway line by one of the comic relief people that is in character, that breaks up like this intense moment. They're like, how do we escape this moment? Type of thing. This is done in like musicals a lot, where somebody will have a throwaway line to break a scene that is very intense. But I think they do that a lot in this. Sorry, whose turn is it?
I think it's your turn.
Well, I just did it.
Well, you were adding to how I loved that Chosen was a great comic relief.
You were adding to my size. Come on. Let's see here. I really love the. I really love. It's in the first episode. It might be like the first 10 minutes, where like Miguel thinks he's him, and then like walks into this like poker game and like punches these dudes, like, and the guy is like, dude, listen, kid, I don't know who you think you are, but I don't know, like, I don't know how you think this is gonna end, but it's not with you like walking out of here, like,
yeah,
like you're using karate on like gangsters with guns, like this is not. We never see this character again. But like that moment, I remember the first time watching it, I was like, "Is that his dad? I don't think that's his dad." And then it's like, "Oh yeah, that's definitely not his dad. He's talking to the wrong dude. You gotta leave, man."
Yeah. For what it's worth, I loved the whole Mexico sequence. I think there's a lot of like growth that happens on that road trip. So.
Oh, can we talk about some of it? Because I just want to throw out
Sure.
like the
Australians.
yeah, that was so good. The whole thing, not just the Miguel part, but like the Johnny part, like it was so good.
Right. You see two different approaches to to that scenario of getting scammed by some surfers. Um, one just like gives all his money, and Johnny punches his way out of it. So,
What was your next one?
uh, back with Chosen, I loved when he got to be sensei for a day, um, and he got them all to work together by playing Protect the Egg. That was a cool moment with a lot of good life lessons about working together.
I love that. I did not like that episode. I'm glad you did. I think that that's okay. Like, you know, it's funny because like I think that the reasons that I didn't like it, maybe if I watched it again, would not be true. There, uh, I need to watch this season again. I think one of the things is I'm not great at binge watching stuff, and so when I binge watch stuff, it like makes it worse for me. And I think I watched the first 2 episodes and then watched the rest, and it was just like it was a lot for me. I loved the Sam and Tori cut. So what I mean by that is like you've got there's so much that happens in that episode actually. You've got Miguel kissing somebody and like that being a problem for some reason, which is like come on,
you're on a break.
Yeah, you're on a break. It's not even a break, you broke up with him.
Yeah, the golden octopus and everything.
Yeah.
That was a love.
Anyway, so like there's that. Then there's like right and also what the worst time for Tori to walk up and like start talking like I loved it. I thought it was like it is so funny because I think oftentimes in life when it rains it pours. Like something bad happens, something else bad happens, something else, like I was watching a episode of Hot Ones, and it was the guy who plays. Oh crap! This is the only role I can remember. He plays Gray in 50 Shades of Grey. Anyway, he was talking about like this day that like he realized that he had got like had 50 or so auditions that he didn't get in Hollywood. He drives down to the beach, and it just starts raining. And it's crying. But he had like gotten out of his car. Said, "This is the worst I've ever felt. It could not get worse than this." And he walks back to his car and he's got a parking ticket.
Are you talking about the Jamie Dornan?
Yeah, I am thinking.
Oh, cool.
And I think about like times where my life has been bad, and I think about how similar that is to Samantha. She's like my ex-boyfriend, who I think I like again, is kissing another girl at a party. And it's really my fault, and I shouldn't be mad, but I am mad, and I'm jealous. I'm just going to leave. I walk out, and my least favorite human being on the planet is standing there to tell me that she cheated in the tournament, but is the reason that I broke up with the boyfriend that's inside. Like
kissing this other girl. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, stuff like that doesn't happen. It's like, yeah, it does. I've had stuff like that happen.
Right, yeah. It seems so outlandish, but like, yeah, you already have like a bad day, and
especially in like a high school setting where you're all always together. Like even outside of school, like who are you gonna go hang out with? All the kids in your high school, right? Like, it's
maybe that's what like helped, because it does feel a lot like that in high school, like that it's a way to help keep them feeling young, right? Is having
Sure.
stuff like that where it all just kind of
Anyway,
dumb.
that sequence, that whole sequence, I'm like, one, poor Sam. Two, like, poor Tori. Three, like, all right, like, yeah.
That's for everybody. Like everything sucks.
High school's hard, man. What's your
Yeah.
next one?
So I kind of meant like I talked a little bit about the octopus that Miguel gets, right, and how like she finds it later, right, and everything works out. But I loved when they're initially texting before she breaks up with him, and like I think this is after it gets back from Mexico. She's like, I'm going to go find myself, and the way that like she's with her girls reading the text messages, and Miguel's with his boys, like trying to understand and dissect what the messages mean. Um, I thought that was funny because I've definitely done that with some text messages before.
But, the Tie Guy tournament, I just want to mention it. I thought it was pretty good. Tori walking out was great. Just everybody blending their learnings. I thought it was a really good tournament episode.
Oh yeah, the end like worldwide big.
Look,
How do they go big? That's kind of like maybe this is a part of it could be better where it's like how do they go bigger than
they
what
didn't do it
happened
yet,
this
right? They got to
season?
go to the Tie Guy now.
Yeah,
Now they go compete in the Tie Guy. Like that has to be the last.
that yeah, I guess so. Yeah, oh you're right. I don't know. And maybe that's why. Because this season, unlike any other season, they're like they were preparing for a big tournament, but it only felt like that kind of took place like from episode 8 on.
Yeah, well, episode 8 is the tournament to decide if they go to the tournament.
Right.
So I don't know. I liked that episode, and I mean that's the same episode I just talked about, but I think we talked about Mexico. Yeah, I think those are like my biggest ones.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that is it for you, let's wrap up. What is that? Rate your candy takes. This is old. All right. Rate it, Paddy B, on a scale of 0 to 5. 0 being nobody should ever watch this show, to 5 being one of the best seasons of any show you've ever watched. Perfection.
Wow.
Would
That's
not
a big
change
bar.
a thing. 4 inches of delight. What you got?
Man. Well, I think it's only fitting that season 5 gets a 5.
I love it.
I give a lot of 5s on this show.
That's okay. What do you think? What do you think about it in comparison? You said in the beginning of the show that I want you to address. You said that you thought it was one of, if not the best seasons of Cobra Kai.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the best season of Cobra Kai in your opinion?
I think so. Like, I think not having. We talked about a few of the like could be betters of like it something. It was one of yours with the like something bad happens at the end of the episode and they fix it kind of thing. While this season doesn't have as linear of a plot as the other seasons, I think that's a good thing, and it's was one of my favorites.
I love it, man. I will say this. I think that it is my favorite season of Cobra Kai. I don't know if that makes it the best, but I think it's my favorite. I would also give it somewhere between a 4.5 and a 5. I think that, seasons 1 and 2 of the show were different and special in a lot of ways. And by the time we got to seasons 3 and 4, we got rhythmic. And I didn't find this season rhythmic at all. In fact, I would say that it often broke the rhythm within its own episodes pretty often, where you could end an episode with a bad or a good thing happening. You could end an episode on a cliffhanger. Like, it felt not formulaic like some of those other seasons, even to the point where, like, we did an episode. There was an episode with like a flashback to them training in South Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and it often those were to often the flashbacks on the show are to make somebody look good, right? And they mixed it up, and it actually was to make people look bad in some ways. And I don't know. I thought that it did a really good job of that. So I'd say a 4.5. Like, I think that the only thing that I could say different is that I wish that they would have made it clear what the season was about, and not had Stingray punch a bunch of kids to end the season. But yeah.
Well, that's the best part. It's you can get away with assault because we're in the Karate Kid world.
With that being said, where can people find you, Paddy B?
They can find me on Twitter at Paddy B MTG and on TikTok at Need to Nerd. I think, yeah.
I don't know where my phone is.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
It's in the show notes. You can find me at Heezy Game on Twitter for all of my Magic the Gathering and nerd stuff and Smash. You can find me every week on Constructive Criticism, where I talk about always improving in Magic the Gathering. And we are actually months behind on our monthly podcast, Smash Through. We'll get that done this month, where we'll be talking about some cool stuff that we've learned. What happened was, I'll be honest, on this show, for those who listen to both, there was the biggest Smash tournament of the year that Matt and I were going to attend got canceled. And so we've just lost some motivation going into June. It's like, I don't know. It's like, it would be like, I don't even know how to, a thing to compare it to. Basically, the reason to play Smash this year got canceled, so it was rough for us. That is going to do it for this week. You can like and subscribe. It really helps out the show. I did notice since our last episode when I asked for some of them Spotify 5-star reviews, we got another one. It really does help the show out. Thank you so much. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to check out the rest of the YouTube content. I plan on doing the stuff with Matt this month, and the TikTok stuff. I plan on doing a kind of a dive into, I don't know, maybe something I didn't talk about on this episode or something, but Cobra Kai season 5 was really fun, so I plan on doing a TikTok on it. Check that out. Share the TikTok. It really helps out the show. And we'll see y'all next week with another episode of the Need to Nerd podcast, where we will be talking to either one of Paddy's bosses or a completely different episode.
Oh, yeah.
Bye.
Bye.